I think if we have a drink after this, I can make anybody of you doubt about everything. So I'm in favor of like taking this very gradually. So compassion at this moment costs too much. So
this thing, meat is murder, dairy is rape, could be true. I don't know.
About our organization, EVA, Ethical Vegetarian Alternative. We are the only vegetarian or animal rights even organization in the world that gets substantial amount of money from the government.
And our organization is all about mainstreamness.
EVA aims at the maximum production and consumption of plant foods, replacing animal foods, in order to contribute to a healthier, greener and more animal-friendly society. You can see maximum production is very strategically chosen. If you say we aim for a vegan world, for politicians and whatever, they say like, oh, these are the crazies, right? So if you say we aim for a vegan world, for politicians and whatever, they say like, oh, these are the crazies, right? You understand? They don't care enough about animal rights right now to give you money for that, just a little. So we have 12 paid staff members with that. People in organizations are just like a very tiny part of the movement. So you see that's the orange, it's not on scale. But the orange circle is like the people in organizations, the professionals. And the rest, that's the civilians. Most of you are civilians, I think, that you're not professionally working for an organization. But that's the It's a relatively young movement. It's about food.
Like, vegan is not a diet, it's a lifestyle, right? And then I wonder, like, why do we want to say that? Why do we want to make it even more difficult than it is? I mean, there's this person who's like a bit interested in going vegan or diminishing his meat consumption, and then we're telling him, no, it's not just that you have to leave out dairy and eggs and meat and fish, it's a lifestyle. You have to change your whole philosophy. You know, you have to like change your shoes and change the way you think and change the way you go, and etc. So you make it even more difficult than it is.
Public, we like somebody asks us what you eat, what you don't eat, and then we're very proud. Like we say, no fish, no chicken, no beef, no honey, no silk, no dairy, no wool, no. And you know, we go on, and we're very proud. The longer the list is, the better, right? But of course, it's deterring to people. It's very scary. If you wanted to call it a lifestyle, if you think like if you go vegan, then you also like have this whole vegan philosophy, and you have to be against this and against that, and you have to be, your politics have to be. I mean, there's people saying like, yeah, a real vegan does not do this and does not go to a strip club and does not do that, and I mean, it's like a whole kind of thing that they want to include in that. And I mean, a very big put down. It's not a diet; it's a lifetime. It's a lifestyle. This is saying like. Yeah, you want to be vegan, it's not enough just to change your diet, you know, it's a lifestyle. You have to change this and this and this too. You have to be political, and you have to be an activist, and you have to, yeah, this is making it much more difficult. And being moderate is much more dangerous for them than being radical. If you're a radical, if you're like a crazy person, like shouting in the street, like let's just take it extreme, like let's take a really crazy vegan, literally, like, and he's shouting everywhere and blah, blah, blah. Nobody takes him seriously, right? But it's like if you have like a moderate person, like something like Peter Singer, he's not entirely vegan, but he's much more dangerous to the meat industry because he's like so rational, and he can convince people, and the crazy people are not going to convince him. I mean, I'm sure that being radical can be useful at some, but let's just say it. Let's just change it to like being unconvincing and crazy. I mean, at the very least. Yeah.
Or it's kind of the same thing. You're in a restaurant and there's other people, and you say like, I don't want anything with this, and I don't want anything with this, and I don't want this and this and this, and no honey, and no. This is me, I just took a picture of myself. This is like the vegan who's like very critically analyzing a jar of chocolate spread or whatever, you know. When he's among an audience of normal omnivores, think about how it looks, you know. You can be very proud, like you can say like, I'm gonna analyze this, and if there's anything impure, I'm not gonna have it, and that's me, and I'm pure like that, and I don't want all this crap, you know. But look, think about how this looks to a non-vegan, okay?
So yeah, we can also be like, in public we are like very in detail scrutinizing products, and like, I mean, sometimes there's many of people who are really proud of that, like that how difficult it is for them and what sacrifice they make. This is like not a good way for.
You can perhaps turn on a number of people, like by having a very radical approach. Like you can turn on a couple of young people, but really also think about all the people that see your message and that are not turned on but turned off by your message. Okay.
Okay. The next part, very important. Don't make it any more difficult than it already is. Okay. This again is the way it looks to people, and what a lot of us do is this. Stop. Are you vegan enough? Are you vegan enough to come over to my side? I want to check first. Can we like examine you? Can we like? Can I go into your fridge? Can we make sure you don't do this and this and this? Do you know what this is? Do you know what that? We make it more difficult in all kinds of ways. 5 degrees. I distinguish 5 degrees of commitment among vegans or vegetarians or animal rights people, and it's like a spectrum from not very committed to extremely committed and maybe too much committed. And indeed, sometimes I say like, please go back to eating meat because you're doing more harm than good. Yeah. Purity, I think, is detrimental to a vegan. I'm not suggesting we should change the definition or whatever, but I'm in favor of some degree of flexibility. Let's allow allow a certain flexibility in it. You know, like one of the things I do is I'm not picky about wine. Okay, so wine is not usually on the bottle if it's vegan or not, if it's clarified with the animal ingredient. So I basically don't care and I drink. What I want to talk about is, could it be that it would be more interesting to a lot of people if veganism was perceived as something that allowed for I'm not saying systematically eating fish, but allowed for a few exceptions. If we would say like that veganism meant that 2 times a year, I'm just inventing something, you could eat non-vegan stuff and you still could call yourself a vegan. Is it possible that for a lot of people it would be a lot more attractive?
It's not a stereotype.
You know this example of like a person saying like I could go vegan, but this rabbit at Christmas with my grandmother just once a year, I just couldn't miss it. They liked the taste, or they couldn't stop eating it for their grandmother, not to hurt their grandmother or something. And if we then say like, yeah, well, you're not vegan, and then they don't start anything, that's detrimental, I think.
Exercises. This is Bill Clinton, who explains why he became a vegan. Now, I know some of you are thinking right now, he's not a vegan, he's fish now and then, blah, 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 etc., right? And it's true, he's not a vegan. He's not a vegan by definition, but think of it from the other people's perspective right now. Even though it enrages you that the word vegan is used in an incorrect way. What could a person who says like, oh, this Bill Clinton, he calls himself a vegan, but he allows himself to eat some fish now and then, or some barbecue or whatever, could it not be that to the public, to the audience, this is like more attractive than somebody who says like, I'm a vegan and I never, blah, 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 etc.
Example, if somebody invites me for dinner and they're not vegan, and I explain to them I'm vegan, and they did their best to make a great meal, and then I go to the bathroom and in walking to the bathroom I look in the kitchen and I see like a jar of mayonnaise, non-vegan mayonnaise, which I think they used for the meal. Then I'm not going to say, after my bathroom break, I'm not going to say to them like, hey, I saw in your kitchen that you had like this, did you use this for my meal? Because then it's not vegan and then I can't continue eating it, you know? This will not give a good impression to people. I want to sacrifice my sense of purity in order to like give people a better idea of what veganism is, or I don't want to detract from their idea. If they have an idea of veganism as something very difficult, something that makes it almost impossible for you to have like normal interactions with people and to take invitations, etc., then I think it's detrimental to veganism and detrimental for the animals. right? And I'm not saying I can make huge exceptions. If there's like a piece of meat in there or whatever, I'm probably not going to be able to do that, even though it might be better sometimes to do that, but I probably can't. And then if I say this on Facebook, there's often these reactions. Yeah, you can always do it. There was always a polite way to explain that, etc. Maybe sometimes, maybe if you're very good, very patient, maybe if you're Melanie, you can explain that. But in most cases, I think it's going to be harmful.
What kind of image will they have about veganism if they think that mayonnaise, for example, is okay?
I think that's a very minor worry. If they think they will find at some other point that they will find out at some other point that veganism is okay. But if there's an embarrassing situation at that moment, which there's definitely a chance for, then they can remember that for the rest of their lives. But again, I cannot. If I think they're going to be more open if I eat meat, I can't go there for some reason. And like I said, maybe it's not the most rational thing, but I don't want to do it. So for instance, a kind of controversial blog post I wrote a couple of months ago was, would you ever eat a piece of meat for a lot of money? Would you? A lot of people said like, no, never! And yeah.
How much?
I think I don't know what if I said something, but I think I said like $1 million or something.
Yeah, because I could then reinvest it.
Exactly.
Into the vegan
Yeah. So I think that's a perfectly. Not everybody may agree with that, but I think it's a perfectly honourable response. And adapt your call for action. So you don't have to necessarily say go vegan. You can say like reduce your meat in a campaign as well as personally. And then there's this discussion we had it a bit like with Melanie's talk. I think like, do we have to be open about what we want? If somebody's going to ask me like, what do you want? Do you want a vegan world? My answer would be like, I want it, but I also think it's going to come, no matter what I do. You know, I'm just there to like ease you into it because it's coming anyway, right? But there's people who say like we should always at every moment be open from the beginning about what we're doing. It should be clear that vegan is the end goal. I don't know why they're saying that. I don't understand that. And I would compare it with hitting on somebody. Like suppose there's this guy or this woman and you say like this is like potentially marriage material for me. Like I want to marry this person. You know, you know him a bit or her a bit from school or whatever, and you think like this could be the one. You're not going to say that on day one, right? You're not going to say like I want to go to bed with you and I want to have babies with you and I want to marry or whatever the order. So it's something that like you say in steps. And I think it's not a perfect comparison, of course, but I think that's a bit like that with veganism too. You just ease them into it. You don't necessarily have to tell them where you want to go. This is Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton explains why he became a vegan. What's just your note as an animal rights activist? What's your reaction to this?
He's having tuna every now and then.
He's having tuna. He's not a real vegan, right?
Exactly.
Right. But could it be possible? So try to imagine a benefit of this.
Of the tuna?
No, of Bill Clinton.